Hello everyone, my name is Luke Mattey here at Sandstone Care. Welcome to our video podcast series. I have Yael Israel here with me. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks so much for coming on this beautiful sunny day. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the sun is shining in my eyes, so I'll try to focus as much as I can. But I met Yael pretty early on in my time here at Sandstone, and we've chatted a couple of times and really find it interesting what she does. I'm not going to steal her thunder, but would like to maybe just first introduce yourself and a little bit of your background and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my background initially was with returning combat veterans and their families. I was working here locally at Walter Reed, initially in Washington, D.C., and then later in Bethesda when they made that transition. And what I was noticing, that there was a gap in care for these returning heroes that, we weren't prepared really as a nation or a community to address the needs that they were facing. We just didn't know enough, and that were sort of these hidden wounds.
Absolutely.
Like trauma and traumatic brain injury and all the suffering that came with that. So a lot of these men and women were either being over-medicated or being self-medicating in an attempt to heal and transition. And so that kind of gap in care was the impetus of me pursuing a degree in social work, clinical social work, and kind of going from there and identifying different issues that came with that, including substance abuse and addiction, which we've seen has been a big problem for folks returning from war and in general as a community.
Yeah, I think so in the general population as well. So thank you definitely for sharing that. So you took your degree in social work and you kind of specialize that. You have some experience in Reiki healing. Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I do. So during the time I was studying, I did some field work, and my first field placement was at MedStar here in Washington, D.C. in the Cancer Institute, and I was offered some tools and the opportunity to learn Reiki, which is the energy healing, light touch massage therapy based on the same pressure points as acupressure. And the more I integrated this into my clinical work and the psychotherapy, I recognized the benefits, which were mind-body. They were benefiting people with anxiety or trauma, sleep hygiene issues, or physical pain, addiction, those kinds of things. So over the course of time, the more I used that in my practice, I was able to basically integrate the two and create a fusion. And so I am practicing a new modality, which is referred to as therapeutic Reiki, which is literally a fusion of clinical work, clinical social work, and energy healing.
That's great, and thank you for sharing that. And I know we've talked in past conversations about what a typical session looks like. Can you maybe share that with the audience?
Sure. So I've kind of refer to myself as a mental health investigator, right? Like there's all of these factors, whatever the issues are, whether they're physical or emotional. So I typically like to dig, so we have all of the pieces, right? We need to work from the inside out. So once I create rapport with a client, get to know a client, find out where they are. Like I like to meet my client where they are.
I love that. Yep.
Identify what their needs are and start to investigate. And it's a mind-body practice. So typically somebody will come in, we're spending half of the session doing a bit more traditional talk therapy, psychotherapy, depending on what their goals are and needs are. And then eventually transition to the energy work, which facilitates healing. And that, again, is mind, body, and spiritual healing.
That's very neat, and I know when we spoke before, those sessions can change. So maybe some more talk therapy at the beginning, some less energy healing, but that's really client dependent. And if I remember correctly, some of the sessions can be rather long, correct?
They can. I mean, there's all these different factors, right? So if trauma is a factor, if genetics are a factor, your environment, we need to modify. And so, there's never a one size fits all.
Absolutely.
So sometimes a session might be longer. Just depends on the needs of that client.
Yeah, and that's great that you can be flexible with your time and you can kind of walk the clients through that. So tell us, if you would, please, just a little bit about your practice, where you're located, just for the folks out there, and so maybe some of the other clinicians you work with.
So I have the privilege of working at the Falls Church Wellness Center, which is in Northern Virginia, metro accessible, right off of 66. And it is a group of very passionate individuals that collaborate with each other. Everybody has and maintains their own business, but we work very often as a team. So often I will work with somebody who's also seeing our naturopath, or is also seeing our acupuncturist or our functional medicine doctor, and that allows us to really create a comprehensive plan. It allows us to provide a continuity of care. And I feel like our clients' feedback that we get is that they feel really embraced by us as a team. So for me, that's the benefit of being part of this group.
Yeah, and I love the practice. I've been there a handful of times, and just like we talk about here at Sandstone Care, that kind of wraparound support, that all-inclusive support. It's not just you go to talk therapy. Here we get families involved. At your practice, you talk about the naturopath, and you have, if I remember, a nutritionist, somebody who works.
We have a clinical massage therapist. We have yoga practitioners that specify in trauma, and so everybody's really focused on the care.
Yeah, and they were all great. So definitely recommend checking them out if you have the opportunity. So maybe talk a little bit back to your own practice. Maybe something you talked a little bit about your background. Maybe what's one thing that you're really passionate about that you feel you bring to your practice with your clients?
Sure. So for me, what I'm passionate about and excited about is this new modality that I've developed called therapeutic Reiki, or Reiki.
Nice. I
and
like that.
Thanks. And so that's been trademarked. I've been practicing it specifically for about a year, and I'm seeing really great results. It facilitates healing on a clinical level, which is evidence-based, and then in a non-traditional way as well. So I feel like my clients and our clients as a whole feel like we are on this journey together, and we need lots of information. And so once we get all of those pieces, we can create a very client-patient-centered practice.
Yeah, and that's great. Using the Reiki and getting to the cause of issues, working through the Reiki piece of it, and then having other resources there to kind of work with a client from beginning to end is awesome.
And I think some people underestimate the importance of touch in healing, because we all come from a different place.
Right.
And so if that comfort level is there, that creates it even more in tune way of healing.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. And then another thing I wanted to just touch on briefly, if someone were to come to you and have some Reiki sessions, what's something they can do? I'm assuming you meet with them maybe once a week, depending on their schedules. So is there anything that you could share with our viewers that clients coming to you might be able to practice kind of between those sessions in the other 6 days of the week?
Sure. So I do use a lot of tools to either eliminate or reduce the use of prescription medication. Some of those things are obviously the Reiki. There's a tool called Alpha Stim that is used for anxiety, depression, sleep issues. I also practice EMDR,
Great.
which is very important. So often I give folks exercises to do at home, which includes those things. Self-care is very important in any kind of recovery or healing. And then I'm also very mindful of connecting people with other practitioners that can help them in between sessions.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. What I do want to leave folks with is if you could just briefly talk through your contact information,
Sure.
where folks could find you on the web or send you an email would be great.
Great. So my practice is Hands on Your Health.
Awesome.
The email is handsonyourhealth, F as in Frank, C as in church, @gmail.com. I also have a website, which is yaelisrael.com, YAEL, Israel, like the country, .com, and there is a lot of additional information there about my background and my approach and philosophy with my clients.
Awesome. Well, so it was great having you here.
Thank you.
so
I
much.
appreciate it.
My pleasure. Let's go out and enjoy some of this wonderful sunshine
while we have it.
while we can. Yes, and I hope you have a great holiday season.
Great.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.